Hi y'all, welcome back to the garden. I'm really excited today. We're going to be planting up some containers I've been waiting to plant up for a couple weeks now, and there's something really special about them. But I want to show you the plants I'm going to be planting in them, how they work, and we're going to be unboxing one and putting it together so you can see how easy it is. So let's go take a look. So here's everything I have for this project. I've got 4 total, 2 large ones. These are the 29-inch pinch containers by Crescent Garden and 1 23-inch. And then I'm going to be unboxing another 23-inch to plant up just like this one right here, just so you can know if you order these how they will arrive at your house and how to set them up. It's super simple and really easy. These containers are going to go around the pool area, and I'm going to start working more in this space after I get the front completely planted out. So I used up a lot of the annuals that I had left over. I'm not sure exactly how many, but we'll go through all the plants right quick. And then they will be spaced along this area here, across from this bench seating area in the pool, and then on either side of the back here. Let's take a look at the planters and why these are special. So this variety of container is a new one by Crescent Garden called the Pinch. I think it's really cute and modern. It looks like the corners have been pinched. One thing I've had and I've noticed this week since having them out is they catch light really nicely in the evening when the sun's setting, so they'll be illuminated really nicely in some areas and dark in others, which gives them a whole lot of dimension. These are TrueDrop self-watering containers, so you can see here, I'll show you how that system works when we get to planting these up. And they are double walled. So like in this case, I'm putting a 𝗍𝗏𝗘𝗢 Green Mountain boxwood in the smaller one. That means this Green Mountain boxwood can live in this container for a number of years before it outgrows it, and it will be perfectly fine over winter. Green Mountain's one of the hardiest boxwoods that are available to plant in containers. I've had Green Mountain boxwoods in Crescent Garden containers for a while. This one on the end right here, this gray one, is a Brunello container, which kind of mirror images some of those terracotta pots that you can get. I've had this one for 4 years. The one next to it is Crescent Garden containers as well. I've got a tree of those with some panicle hydrangeas. That is a series called Madison, and those are double walled. The Brunello's not double walled, but the boxwoods have done really well in them. And I've also had this one a few years that I've really adored, and it's called the Delano. And I really love planting it up with some shade things and tucking it under the porch, or it's great as the centerpiece of a table. There are several different Delano varieties, so I really like the edging here. But these right here, these new pinch containers, and a couple more in the series that are new, have a secret. So let me put the camera down and show you. And the secret these containers hold is they move. There's an accessory wheel caster package that you can get to easily allow these to move around. So these are going to be perfect for this location around the pool because I can place them, I can move them around and clean up under them easily. So these really make me feel like Vanna White. I don't know why, but twirling them around like that on the concrete's really incredible. Everything was thought out on these containers. So how the TrueDrop containers work, I'll show you when we open the box, but there's a reservoir in here that holds water, and then you can fill them from the top using this little hole here, or when you water the plants, which is what I'm going to be doing today, the water will build up into the container and feed these plants water for several weeks. Depending on what size container you have, the longer it'll last, and what you're planting in them will also vary depending on how much water is uptaken by those plants over time. They can be used indoors as well. So there is a plug that you can add to them, which I'm not using because these are outdoor. But if you're indoor, the plug stops overflow from flowing onto the floor. Outdoor, after they fill up and they get too much water in them, water overflows onto the ground, which is a nice characteristic so they don't hold too much water. So let's unbox one of these containers, the smaller one, the 23-inch like I have here, and we'll go through the setup and look a little bit more about the mechanics inside the container. So these are shipped out of their warehouse in North Carolina, so if you order them, they will get to you rather quickly, and there are not a whole lot of them that you have to assemble. So you just open the box, and it's there for you, and you lift it out like this, And if you didn't order the caster system, this is what you get. It's almost ready to go. There are a couple things you have to do to it to insert the plug to make sure it holds water. So let's go through that process right quick. So I really love the marketing and the advertising that's on the inside. As someone who's not great about watering their containers, these are perfect. So it says for the brown thumb gardener, the overwaterer, the underwaterer, the edibles grower, the dweller of desert cities, the lake house owner, and the environmentally conscious, because these do tend to use less water and less fertilizer because they're self-watering. You can add a liquid water-soluble fertilizer to the containers directly that will constantly feed your plants as they draw up water. But underneath this right here, which you pull off, you'll notice the reservoir that acts as a column of soil that will pull up water for you. So you can stick your hand down in here. There are little holes for the plants to be able to access the water. And in this little packet here are the stoppers for whether you want to use it indoors or outdoors. And we'll insert those right now because it's super simple. So you'll want to turn these out on a soft location, like on the grass I have here. And inside this little Ziploc container, there is a plug and a stopper. This red plug is what you would insert into this location right here that's got a little metal thread if you are going to use these indoors. I'm not using these on indoors, so I'll just be sticking it to the side and saving it just in case one day I wanted to bring those indoors. But the plug, and this prevents water from exiting the bottom. So in winter, you can pull this out and winterize these containers so they don't freeze. You stick the rubber piece in there just like that, and then you insert the plastic plug just like this. Sometimes it's easier to use your palm and then you're done. Now, if you didn't order the caster system, you can flip this over and begin planting in it immediately. I received the caster system with my order, and so we're gonna put these in right now and show you how easy that is. You can see the insert and the layout for these casters. It makes it super simple. If you've ever put a picture on the wall, you'll recognize how this process works. These are molded containers, and they have tiny little holes right here that you can insert these little gold things in them, and they assist with screwing it in. So these push into these holes. You may have to use a little force, get you a little mallet if you need to make sure they're in there all the way. They grip to the bottom of the container here, and then it makes it easier for you to screw in these screws to hold in the casters. You may need a little rubber mallet, or I just use the back of the screwdriver here to press those all the way in. They are supposed to be difficult to insert, obviously, so they don't spin around on you. And then the caster system sits in here nicely like this. And then you insert the screws over it. Now these casters are made to swivel every which way, so you'll see they spin this way, every which way, all of them spin, and they also roll. So these are heavy duty casters, you can hear them there. And these are ready to plant up now. You've got the plug in there for outdoors, the casters on it. All you got to do is add your soil and plant. So as I mentioned, these work by having a column of soil that enters the water reservoir. So under this right here will be water, and then there's soil in here. So you want to make sure you fill this with soil. You don't want to fill it with rocks or anything else. So in all of these other containers, I've already pre-filled them. And this one, I'm going to be putting another 𝗤𝗄𝗘𝗢 boxwood there, and then let's talk about some of the other plants. So all of the plants sitting on this table are going to go in here, and it's a repetition of what's in this container right here. So we have some 𝗣𝗂𝗔𝗡𝗢𝗪 silver falls, which is a lovely gray silver spiller for any container that'll look really nice against this caviar black container. We have some Diamond Frost Euphorbia by proven winners, some Supertunia Bordeaux, which has always been one of my favorite Supertunias. These are looking a little leggy. I could probably cut them back a little bit, but I think I'm going to leave them for a couple days, see how they bunch up, and if they are still looking leggy, then I can cut them back at that time. In here we also have a Solar Power Blackheart sweet potato vine. and that's this one right here. Really, really beautiful. I grew it last year, really vigorous. The leaves get really large on those as they grow up a little further. And then this Angel Wings Senecio, which is a newer variety to me, but it adds a really nice white silver pop of color, slightly more white than the 𝗣𝗏𝗃𝗧𝗦 falls under it here. And then I've repeated that 5 plants or so all the way around the container here. I've got 2 diamond frost euphorbia and 2 Senecio, and everything else is 4 of each. So that is the smaller container. I think it'll look really beautiful. You may be asking why I didn't put the boxwood in the bigger container. Well, I think the boxwood, the size of it that I was able to find, more closely matches the size of the smaller container. And so I think it'll be really beautiful there and can live there for several years. If they grow up and get bigger, I can then pull them out and transition them to the bigger Crescent garden containers, the big brother of the smaller variety. I'm really excited about the combination of these plants as well. We have a purple fountain grass, which I've used in containers before in combination with a lime heart sweet potato vine here. They get really beautiful together. You can see there's a little green in there, but this fountain grass can get really large. And it's one of the reasons that I chose this container to put the fountain grass in and not the boxwood, because the fountain grass would probably overpower the size of these containers. So these will look really nice. And then paired with that is a Supertunia Vista bubblegum, which is a very vigorous Supertunia. A lot of you have probably heard of it before. So it will completely cover the side of these containers throughout the season, most likely. We got some more 𝗣𝗏𝗃𝗧𝗦 falls that will tie in the 2 containers together, and some diamond frost euphorbia as well. So both of those 2 plants are in this container over here. You may think this one looks a little sparse, but if you've ever planted a potato vine or a Supertunia Vista bubblegum, you know in just a few weeks you will not be able to see soil here on either of these containers, and they will look really lovely. So I'm going to take some soil, fill this hole up here, get my boxwood in there, put some more soil on it, and then we'll get to planting these up. A lot of the success that goes into container plantings is what you start with. So start with a good potting soil. So we'll make sure this boxwood is center, because after it's in here, there's not a whole lot going back. Also want to make sure it's nice and level, and then we'll fill the rest of the container up with some soil. That's looking pretty good to me. You want to be cognizant of when you're planting these containers that there's not necessarily a front and a back on these Crescent Garden TrueDrops, but you will fill it from here if you want to add water without disturbing the topsoil. And the stopper is on the back, so I would consider that the back of the container. So we're going to start planting these up. I am going to add 𝗲𝗛𝗃𝗧𝗦, which is what I add to all of my containers. It is essentially a consumer version of what a lot of garden centers add to their containers or their potted plants that they sell you. And what it does is it provides a really long, slow release feed. It is temperature activated, so when it gets hot and the plants need those nutrients, they will be able to pull from it. And then after about a week, then these have started to settle and root in, I'm going to add some liquid soluble, water soluble fertilizer directly to the Crescent Garden containers, and then they can continue to draw that up and grow in really nicely for me. So let's unpack these plants from this container. And what I think I'll do is I will pull them from this one and plant them in this one right next to me. That way I can keep the same design and won't have to make such of a mess. So we'll start with the diamond frost euphorbia in the corners. All right, they're all planted up and I think they're looking gorgeous. And I believe this is going to be the ultimate test for these TrueDrop containers, particularly with all the sweet potato vines in there. If you've ever grown a sweet potato vine in a container anywhere, you know they love their water. And if they don't get it, they will wilt like that. So we're going to be testing and trialing these out throughout the season. You're going to see them a lot, especially as I start renovating the backyard here. So let me turn the camera around and show you the final look, and then I'll talk about the most important part of these containers. So I think they're looking really good. I only had 2 sweet potato vines for this one, so I think they're gonna be so full anyway, you're not gonna really be able to tell or notice. And I really love this one. I think when it starts filling out, it's giving me super moody vibes with the white and purples and black potato vine. Now let's talk about the most important part, because obviously planting these plants and going on your merry way is not good enough. You need to give them water, and specifically a lot of water for these containers. I'm going to fill them completely up, and you want to fill them until you see 2 blue dots in the TrueDrop identifier or identification area right here up front. I'll show you. But also, just because these are self-watering does not mean that they're immediately going to be super effective for your plants. You need to give them a week or so to grow in. So I'm going to leave them right here close to my water hose, let them settle in for a week, water them daily as they're needed. And then at the end of that period, when I can see their plants are starting to root in and go down into the reservoir, then you can push them out to where you finally need them to be and let them grow on. And then just keep an eye on the water identifiers. There's 2 steps to it. One will drop when it starts getting low, and then the second one will drop when it's almost empty. And that means you need to add water back to the container. So it's a visual indicator for you. Let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna start in shower mode, which I always do to kind of wash the dirt off these plants here, make sure everything's settled in really well. And right here is the TrueDrop indicator. So you'll see right there, there are no blue circles. Now that I've got the plants settled in pretty nicely, I'm going to switch over to the jet function on my hose. Let's remove this little plug here, and then we'll just fill it up directly until these arrows or these blue indicators show up. Okay, we're gonna stop here. You see this outer ring right here that's blue? I've been filling up for a couple minutes, so that shows you how much water these planters hold. And this is your first indicator that you might wanna add some more water because water's getting low. Now I'm gonna continue filling it until the center ring also shows blue, and that will indicate it is full. All right, we just made it. You can see the center of it is also blue. This thing held some water, so that's really exciting. I spent probably 5 or more minutes, probably more, so it'll depend on your flow, just filling up this container. So this is the smaller one. This is the 23-inch, and it is looking really beautiful, I think. So if you have these, keep them watered for the first week or so, let the plants root in, and then they will start growing into the container, and the self-watering process can begin. And let's see how easy they move now that they're full of water. Check that out, still super easy. That's incredible. So these have everything I would probably ever want in a self-watering container. So I'm gonna water the rest of these in and then call it a night, and we'll check on these in the next video. So I really want to thank Crescent Garden for sending these containers out to try and generously providing y'all a coupon code. It is in the description for 15% off for the rest of the year. Isn't that really exciting? So if you get and you want to grab a Crescent Garden container from now until December 31st, you can do so. So they make wonderful presents for your mom, grandparents, or the favorite gardener in your life, or treat yourself. Thanks for following along, guys. We'll check on these in the next video. Remember, be a light. Take care. Bye.